Hello, my friends. Rebecca and I dreamed up this new word the other day, and it's called ACI, which is kind of like icky. So ACI stands for Addictive Cultural Influences. And today I'm speaking to all of you who are trying to change something in your life. Let's say you've decided you want to hunt and fish most of your meat instead of buying it in plastic things from the grocery store. Let's say you want to improve your health because it's been just eroding because you're not being able to get yourself working out. Oh, let's say you want to cut your media consumption, not have your mind always obsessed with songs and ditties from commercials. Whatever it is that we're trying to change, we are up against something pretty powerful. And that is these akies. Here's how they work. If we don't know about them, they're just going to own us. They're going to take us for a ride. These addictive cultural influences are things like, smartphones. We know that these are highly addictive. Social media. A lot of us addicted to social media. And we know now from the neuroscience that when you get a like, when you get a text, it's giving you a little hit in your brain. And every time you get that little hit, conditions your brain to want more and more of those. So what happens is that most of us, we become addicts. And we look at somebody on the street and go, there's a heroin addict, or there's this person addicted. All the while, we are addicts. We're just addicted to a sanctioned drug. When people come out to Reweld you, they're going to spend 3-4 months living in the woods. And they are away from all those akies. They're just out here with the trees and the birds and the wolves, and there's no smartphones anymore. There's no computers. There's no television. The mind starts to decondition and escape from those things. Now, this ends up feeling really good. We start to feel more clear in our mind. We feel more excited about life. Everything feels awesome. But then we go back to the regular civilized world and we're confronted with those akies again. And unless we are properly prepared and we have discipline and we have some good techniques and tools in place, which I'm going to share with you today, those akies, they will eat us for breakfast. They will take over our lives. In a month after getting back from the woods, we'll be right back into all our old habits. Now, you're probably not going out to live in the woods for 4 months, but you probably do want to make some powerful changes in your life. So, step 1 is just being aware of the power of the akies. Because if we don't know that they're there operating, then we just are going to keep taking hits without even realizing that we're an addict. It's normal, right? Just pick up your smartphone. You've got to carry it with you all day. Now, you leave it somewhere, you lose it, and you start looking around for it. Pretty good sign, right? That something's there, that we're not seeing how addictive these things are, how dependent we've become upon them. It's an invisible slavery. And until we can see it, we'll have no power over it. Now, once we see it and we acknowledge it, and that takes some really clear self-vision, because usually we want to say, no, I'm not addicted to video games. I'm not addicted to my smartphone. I'm not addicted to social media. If you're not, go without it for a couple of days. Just see how it feels. If you can do that and it's easy, no problem, then you're probably right. But if you can't, then we have to question and say, hey, am I fooling myself? Am I addicted? If we can start to see the things that we're addicted to, then we can start to take some control over them. If it's your smartphone, that's a big one for a lot of people. The easy way, or I guess the light way to do it, is there's apps and things that are going to restrict your usage and help you to wean off. But maybe you just get rid of that smartphone. Go back to a flip phone. Seems radical, but usually when people do that, they say their life changes in some pretty powerful ways. What we need to do to change our relationship with these things is to develop some new habits. Because right now we're habitualized to using these drugs. Now, these new habits, developing new habits, this isn't super easy. Our mind literally burns paths in our brains that keep us locked into behaviors. But there's one little trick here that you can use, and it's a powerful trick, and that is to create accessibility for yourself. So if I'm going to make a new habit for myself of, let's say I'm going to devote myself to a meditation practice, or I'm going to devote myself to kickboxing practice, whatever it is, it's going to better yourself. How are you going to make that accessible? Because pretty much guaranteed that unless you make that accessible to yourself, you're going to start to find ways to make excuses not to do it. Notice here that the akies are being made accessible for us. Very accessible. And every month, every year, they become more and more accessible. So here's what you're up against. I mean, 10 years ago, was there even social media 10 years ago? I don't know. If there was, you would be on one website and you'd have to navigate over to another website and it'd take, I don't know, like 5-10 seconds for it to load. There at least was a small delay there. Now I am going to have a watch probably that I can speak into. I don't know what they have these days. I can speak into it and go instantly to Facebook and get my dopamine hits from my likes. So the technology, the creators of the technology are very busy making the akies super accessible. Our job, then, we have to make those less accessible and make our new habits accessible. This is going to take work. And there's the trick, right? We like things easy as humans. And so we're going to tend to gravitate towards the easiest thing. So what's the trick? How are you going to make it easy for you? Let's say it's that kickboxing class and you want to start getting rough and tumble and shedding a little blood and sweat. Instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to choose that gym that's across town and it's going to cost me a whole bunch of money and it takes me an hour to get there, trying to find something closer to you or establish a group closer to you. And then get hooked up with some of the people so that you form a social network that's giving you brain rewards for connecting with those people. Now you've started to make it more accessible in multiple ways. And by making something fun, we've made it more accessible. So I've got to find ways to do this. That meditation practice, how are you going to hold yourself to meditating? I mean, this is boring. Your brain's going to slow down. It's painful. Most people, their success rate is abysmal because it hurts. Most of us, when we're confronted with pain, we're going to run the other way. But if you make it accessible in some way, and that doesn't always just mean an easy place to go or at a convenient time, but it can mean hacking your brain a little bit in such a way that you're going to set up a reward system, and that creates accessibility. So I'm talking about accessibility in a broad way here. So I might have a favorite fruit. I love mangoes. And there's going to be a mango sitting there for me at the end of each meditation session. Maybe I love to be outside and I'm going to take that meditation in my sit spot every day. And that's going to give its own intrinsic rewards. Maybe I'm going to meditate with somebody. So you see what I'm saying here? It's finding ways to create accessibility. And that one word, accessibility, is going to be your route in. Again, being aware of how the akies are made accessible for you and finding ways to make those less accessible. And then opening up, and this takes your creativity, opening up accessibility into the new habits that you want to develop. Once you get good at this, and you're able to start developing habits consciously, then you start to become the driver of your life. And you're not under the influence of those drugs anymore in the same way. Share in the comments what your Aki is, and if you're like many of us, there's probably more than one. And how strong of a hold does it have on you? And how have you found ways to shift it around so that it doesn't have the same hold on you? What have you found on the other side of those Akies? Thanks for watching, my friends. Can't wait to hear from you in the comments.